Hey yo, so we're reacting to some of the dumbest things that have ever happened in NASCAR. This video was originally uploaded by Rawgator. The original video and the original creator will be down in the description below. And with that being said, we're gonna waste no time. Let's get into this.
There are plenty of dumb moments in NASCAR. Some people write the whole entire sport off just thinking it's dumb. You may have announcers saying stuff that's completely out of pocket.
Yep. Aggressive goes.
NASCAR could fail to throw a caution, causing the entire field to wipe out. And this guy gets away with driving backwards during races over and over again, and there is nothing NASCAR does about it. But upon the dumb moments in this video, you can't get much worse than doing something so bad that you lose an entire race in one simple move.
Oh yeah.
This guy with a bowl cut tried picking a fight and lost.
Oh
These
no.
people risked their lives by climbing on top of a fence during a race. But what's a video about dumb moments in NASCAR without talking about the mistakes NASCAR makes themselves? The officiating crew is responsible for throwing a caution if the track gets too wet to race on, which actually happened at a race in New Hampshire in
they should not have started the race like this.
And the only ones that were actually aware of it were the leaders when they headed into the corner and began to slide uncontrollably. Kyle Busch wrecked.
Truex.
And Truex and Hamlin would be the ones
Kyle Busch.
This ended Busch's entire day, but he didn't head home without letting everyone know how
That's
he felt.
so
We've been
bad.
talking about it for 2 laps that it was raining. There's no sense in saying what I want to say. It doesn't do you any good.
NASCAR surely would never make the same mistake again. Wrong. The very next year, they again failed to recognize that one side of the track got wet, but this time the consequences were much, much bigger. Daytona is a track that's notorious for huge pileups, so I bet you can guess what happened when the leaders started to randomly slide in the rain. This caused thousands, if not millions of dollars in damages, which all could have been avoided if the NASCAR
they should have. I feel like that rule should have been implemented
in 2001.
a while ago.
Speedway, the race started on a wet track.
2001.
Couldn't even make it to turn one of the first lap without water messing with the traction so much, a number of cars lost control and their cars became completely undrivable. The only thing NASCAR could think to do was to allow the affected drivers to pull out their secondary cars and give them one more chance. The one who started dead last was Jeff Gordon. Because he won the race. The good news?
I think that was a good move though, because it's just like, well, it's a non-points race. They wrecked without even completing a single lap. It's only fair that they give them one more shot.
NASCAR has this thing called a rain tire. While the main ones are slicks, the rain tires look similar to what you'd find on a road in real life. And surely using these would fix all of our problems. NASCAR tried using these in an actual race, but it turns out racing in the rain is pretty impossible no matter what. But if you want a good laugh, catch one of these races live and you'll feel like you're watching a ton of rookies aimlessly driving through a course. Some drivers will do the craziest things to get an advantage, including doing their best Dale Earnhardt
car wash,
maybe Carl Edwards was onto something, because if you have no visibility because there's too much water, something like this could easily happen.
Yes.
It seems like NASCAR still likes racing in the rain. Some of it was coming down at the Charlotte Xfinity race this year, and NASCAR insisted on just racing in it. Nobody wrecked in this clip, but Dale Jr. just quote tweeted it with a facepalm emoji. NASCAR
I would agree though.
Find some of the
I agree with Dale Jr.
ever fought. Have you ever wanted to see a fight between Rowley Jefferson and a watermelon farmer from Florida? Well, it turns out you can do just that. But seriously, how are you going to confront someone when you have a bowl cut? Another dumb NASCAR fight happened in this exhibition race where Clint Boyer ran up to Ryan Newman, who was
it was the next year. He used the wrong clip.
Of winning a UFC match by knockout. Clint kept his helmet on, and when Newman jumped out of his car to prove him wrong, he felt very dumb about what he did. Another unbelievably silly NASCAR fight
this is by far
Kyle Busch
ridiculous.
accidentally ran Bubba Wallace into the wall, and without any hesitation at all, Bubba came back to wreck him immediately.
Yeah, this is very unfortunate.
Time for Christopher Bell because he was innocently
just caused
in all of this.
Huge implications to the championship.
Is the way Bubba jumped out of his car and wanted to fight
at the time, but obviously Bell bounced back.
Christopher Bell had more of a reason to be mad at this point, and Bubba received a 1-race suspension for the whole sequence of events. And of course, we can't forget to mention.
This was also ridiculous too. Once the telemetry started to come out on Chase Elliott's end,
contact and took matters into his own hands. Spinning Hamlin in
look at that,
which made him hit the wall head on. Landon Castle once said that the #1 rule of stock car racing is to learn how to wreck somebody without yourself. And Chase Elliott didn't listen. Not only did he wreck Denny Hamlin on purpose, but Hamlin then called it a tantrum in his interview, exposed him on Twitter, and he proceeded to get banned from the next NASCAR race, all within a 24-hour
Chase Elliott last year just had the worst year.
Right rear hooks are absolutely unacceptable.
It was surprising to see this out of Chase Elliott since Bubba Wallace was suspended for an identical crash that we just went over, and for a guy who already missed a few races this year with a broken leg.
I'm glad that they actually remain consistent with suspending drivers for intentional wrecking, because then it's only fair. Like they did it with Bubba Wallace, and I'm glad that they stepped up and said, all right, Chase, you're out for the week. I'm glad that they remain consistent in that area, and if it ever happens again, I'm really hoping that they continue that consistency.
Prioritize health and safety. NASCAR fans love to pay those premium stadium prices for certain beverages when attending a racetrack, and this could be the very reason why fans have made the decision to randomly climb up the catch fence.
Oh man, no!
The most iconic case of fans climbing the fence was in 2014 during Richmond Raceway's chase race, and this is what Alan Bestwick had to say about it.
Let's just say it's somebody doing something stupid.
I agree with Alan.
Brought out the caution in the race.
A caution had to be called for the safety of the fan, and fun fact, the reason for the caution is forever listed as security in the racing
security.
Although it might not be very hard to figure out, years later in an interview, he admitted to drinking before climbing this very fence. Would this fan be the very last to do so? Of course not. This fan was seen climbing it at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coca-Cola 600. I get it. With it being
oh my gosh, when was this?
He probably was just trying to get a better view. But
this probably was like
taking a video
few years
point of view from his
like
phone.
later.
So someone please go hunting and find out if this footage exists. And based on the way the cars still appear to be racing, it doesn't seem like a caution ever came out for this. The fan also decided to climb the fence during the 2020 Bristol All-Star race. Or I guess it counts as after the race, because when Chase Elliott won, this fan got a little too excited. My favorite part is when a content creator that goes by the name Moonhead was in attendance and decided to capture this viral interview with said fan.
So what inspired you to climb the fence?
Chase Elliott won.
You're just that overcome with emotion you had to climb something?
Yes, I love Chase Elliott.
Average Chase
Did
Elliott
you know
fan?
It's been 6 years since Jimmy Johnson last won in NASCAR. It
now
also
7.
happens to be the very same day that this race fan climbed the Dover catch
oh my
fence
gosh.
in turn 4. This is by far the craziest one because the race was still under green and one of his legs was dangling over the edge. No caution was called, and I feel like I have to say this, so don't worry YouTube, he made it down safely, and
good
is the proof. Kyle Busch has already won so many NASCAR races and his
gosh, man,
that I think at this point he can take certain moments not 100% seriously while also being a good driver.
How did you drive that after hitting the grass like that and bending that splitter?
KFB.
Think about the time when he ran over these cones, was told not to do that, and the next time just decided to leave his car rogue on pit lane. Nothing is too serious for KFB, and he shows it in the funniest ways possible. In this year's Coke 600, he self-spun on the back straightaway, was facing the wrong
and just got
direction
bopped in the driver's side, but
to drive
no damage. Rarely any damage. This was actually really
jumped on Twitter and made a post about it, which would receive thousands and thousands of likes. This is nothing new for Kyle Busch, though. It's really been something he's always done. It happened at Road America in 2021,
Road America,
at Kansas in 2013,
Daytona,
and on the final lap of the 2014 Daytona 500. I kind of wonder if it's a nod to his M&M's commercial from way back in the day, where the M&M's are shown doing the exact same thing. And if Kyle Busch was a character in Cars, he would probably be Mater. There was one really dumb instance in NASCAR where a real-life driver lost one of his real-life sponsors because he rage quit out of a video.
Oh no, yeah, I remember this.
Series, which was an iRacing
this is so bad.
That replaced NASCAR during 2020 when the thing happened.
The thing.
Cup drivers and even retired ones got to race in it. And during their race at Bristol, Bubba Wallace had a run-in with Clint Boyer. Bubba was live streaming his point of view, probably to Twitch, where he got upset at Clint Boyer for wrecking him and not taking the race seriously. Once Bubba got crashed, he stopped in the racing groove, left the race, and ended his stream. Well, apparently his sponsor Blue Emu paid to be on his video game race car, and that meant that they wouldn't get their money's worth in terms of exposure. Bubba Wallace posted about the incident on Twitter not long after, but Blue Emu saw it as anything but a joke. They made the decision to stop sponsoring Wallace because he's a quitter. Blue Emu made
not
sure to
quitters.
on the incident and even responded with this.
Wow.
And yes, these tweets are real. Sometimes NASCAR announcers
God damn, they just called Bubba out. Straight up called Bubba out.
And other times they'll put you right to sleep.
Oh man.
One time, a commentator named
the commentary was just so bad last year for Fox.
That he called a driver the
like
word
NBC. I actually genuinely was looking forward to NBC.
Aggressive goes around.
This became one of the
Especially
biggest
from moments like
announcing
that.
memes in NASCAR history, and was also one of the first videos I ever uploaded to this channel. Jimmie Johnson was 1 lap away from winning his 5th championship, and on the final lap, the announcer said this.
Oh no.
That hammering you hear is the sound of the nail of the final coffin on the chase contender's hose.
Now, I understand the phrase he was going for, but the lights were definitely too bright because the pressure
think it's Marty
must have made
Snyder.
him fumble it. Speaking of times where announcers butchered the finish, Justin Allgaier in the red car was about to win this race because Carl Edwards ran out of gas.
Oh, no.
But he would also run out of gas unexpectedly. Both drivers were coasting to the finish, but then a white car suddenly appeared out of nowhere. And the announcer automatically assumed it was 3rd place Trevor Bayne and ended up looking extremely silly when he realized that it was just a car
It was
already 1
Tim
lap down.
Schendel.
So he ended up overhyping the call completely.
Third place is Trevor Bayne. Here they come. It's going to be a drag race to the finish.
That's not Trevor Bayne.
Do it. Did he get his first win?
And in this last moment, an announcer said something that was quite out of pocket. Ambrose was leading this race at Sonoma, California, but he
Oh,
still
no.
had to save some fuel. So under caution, he shut off his
Oh, this
car
is
while
bad.
going up a hill, but he couldn't get it refired right away. This would mean that he surrendered the lead to Jimmie Johnson with only 7 laps to go, and he basically gave the win away. Remember, we're in California, so this announcer
Man.
saw it as the perfect time to make this joke.
If you want to find Marcos Ambrose, go to the Golden Gate Bridge, because that's where he's standing right now.
There's
Jesus,
also times
Wally.
when NASCAR drivers completely mess up and lose focus. Most NASCAR fans will know about the one time where Mark Martin was about to win the race.
Very
but
infamous.
He pulled into the pits 1 lap too early and gave his win away. And as recently as 2020, Tyler Reddick did something similar when
Yep.
he was running in 4th place.
This
He
is
happened
funny.
to stop racing on the last lap, and he didn't realize.
And he
his
still
mistake
finished
until
4th.
His team started yelling at him over the radio.
Randall boys, everyone. Great car, great stop. Go! It's the last lap, dog!
Luckily for him, he didn't lose a single spot.
He
and it's so
didn't
rare for
lose a
this to
spot.
happen that I just had to
Still
mention it
finished
here.
4th,
What is a
dude.
NASCAR video without mentioning Daryl Waltrip's famous phrase?
Buggity, buggity, buggity.
He'd say it right before the initial start to every race, which overall made it very iconic and recognizable. But especially towards the end of his announcing career, he'd start to lose his marbles and add random phrases to his already random phrase. One time he asked the other announcers in the booth to do it along with him, which was never done before, and since it wasn't rehearsed,
Oh, boy.
it turned out a little awkward.
Let's go racing, boys!
And one time, for some unknown reason,
It wasn't
he
too
decided to
rehearsed,
call
but I mean,
all the
it's
drivers
still
a
kinda
bunch of
solid.
hot dogs.
Buggity, buggity, buggity. Let's go racing, you bunch of hot dogs.
And at this Talladega race, he chose to say it 6 times instead of the usual 3.
Buggity, 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 buggity. Let's go racing, boys.
The usual tagline is "Let's go racing, boys." But when Danica joined the Cup Series in
And
2013,
Danica.
he had to think of a brand new way to get races kicked off.
Buggity, buggity, buggity. Let's go racing, boys. And yes, Danica.
Most people who don't watch NASCAR are likely to think
And
the original
Danica.
phrase is goofy in itself, but the
You
different
know?
iterations were sure
Pretty
to make
soon
you
once
laugh
Haley
if
Dean
you
gets up
weren't
to the Cup
expecting
Series,
it.
and if
Some race fans weren't
they call
fans of
DWF to do like a
announcer,
one-off,
but seeing the way
kind of
races
as
are
like a
announced
guest
now,
announcer, they'd
nostalgia
be
and
like,
wishes
boogity,
from the
boogity, boogity,
return
let's go
are
racing.
coming.
And
Be sure to
Haley,
subscribe so you
that's going to do it for this video. Want to thank you guys a lot for watching. If you want to see the full video and also the original creators stuff as well, be sure to go check out those things out, and links are in the description below. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a like, and if you have not considered subscribing yet, recommend you do so in order to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. That pretty much does it for me. I'll see you in the next one.